stuck between a libertarian and a Republican? Welcome to Publitarian Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is Ronald Johnson, Publitarian. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yes, I wasn't expecting that. Reason I wasn't expecting that is that it was a sound clip from the last episode I did, and I didn't take it out, but hey, man, I appreciate the applause, and thank you very much. Man, there is so much news, so many things to talk about on this edition of Publitarian Podcast. We are up to episode number 102, and I will just dive right in. AOC unironically tweets that the right is obsessed with gender and identity.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
No, Mugatu, you are not the only one. Quote from the very intelligent Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Trans kids are awesome, incredible, beautiful, and wonderful. Bigotry is not. Republicans need to stop obsessing over other people's gender identity because, frankly, it's very weird, and they're doing a lot of harm to children who are just trying to be themselves. Hashtag let kids play. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The right is the political group that's obsessed with gender and identity, and we're the ones that just don't want kids to play. I don't think I can provide any other commentary than that. I'm just going to let that marinate right there, the way it is. And in further voter fraud did not happen news, I have two companion pieces. One of them is from the Washington Examiner, and it says, dumpster dive prompts Maricopa County to trash claims of illegally shredded ballots. So what happened here? A lot of different news outlets reported that ballots were shredded in Maricopa County and started circulating these pictures. And the Maricopa County Board denies this totally. They say there were no ballots shredded, and we've got, nothing happened to these ballots. So it caused these patriots to do a dumpster dive to try and look for shredded ballots. This is one of those, I'm not going to know unless I see more facts. The reason being is Maricopa County, people that may or may not have participated in voter fraud, want you to take their word for it that there was no voter fraud, and that's the end of the story. Now, the other end of this story, the companion piece of this story, from the Gateway Pundit, this is a couple days later. After finding shredded ballots in the dumpster earlier today, a mysterious fire breaks out at Maricopa County officials' farm. The Arizona Maricopa County election cover-up continues. These crooks are doing all they can to obstruct justice and tamper with evidence because they know they can get away with it. The Arizona Maricopa County Board of Supervisors on Wednesday loaded its 2020 election ballots on a truck for delivery to the Arizona Senate. After months of attempting to obtain access to the ballots, the Senate won a case where the judge ordered the ballots to be produced to the Senate. So immediately before being told when and where to deliver the ballots, the MCBOS loaded the ballots onto a truck, even though the Senate had not yet asked for the ballots. It is not believed that this move of the ballots was performed under the proper chain of custody. Okay, so we go down here. There's a YouTube video on this as well. And it says the video is accurate. The ballots were moved without direction from the Senate. This was likely illegal. They were loaded on a truck without having a location to ship to. There is no evidence the ballots were moved under the proper chain of custody, which is also illegal. The media was called to make up a story about how the Senate wasn't ready for the ballots. The ballots were then stored in an open warehouse where it looks like anyone could get into. Individuals in the county found shredded ballots at this location Saturday. Okay, so there were shredded ballots found, and then, according to AZ Central, and then that's a local affiliate there, and the Gateway Pundit is reporting, and now tonight, 2 barns on the farm of one of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors caught on fire. It's just really strange. No matter what side of the aisle you fall on this, what the drumbeat that I keep hearing from everyone on the left is that there's no evidence. There's just no evidence of voter fraud. And I keep going, if there's no evidence, why are you trying so hard for people to not see the evidence? So you could, on one hand, say there's no evidence because nobody's been allowed to see the evidence. Although in most court cases, which has only been a handful of court cases where these voter fraud allegations have been able to be heard, they've won, like, handily. In most of these cases, like major numbers, they have won when they were able to show evidence. So it's kind of funny. You get to do this Schrodinger's cat thing where, if you can't look in the box to see the the evidence of voter fraud, is there really voter fraud? It's very frustrating because the people keep the media and the Democrats keep moving the goalposts. So when November happened, they're immediately, this is the most safest, secure election ever. Even though if you look all throughout the state elections, because that's how the president is elected, he's elected by states, not nationally. The states that already had their vote by mail thing down and already had a system in place and wasn't doing unsolicited mail-in balloting, crazy, Trump won those states. And the states where the legislators weren't able to make the calls on how the ballots were handled and the last-minute mail-ins, it's amazing. Joe Biden won by a bunch of numbers. Again, nothing to see here, folks. No voter fraud. There's a couple of videos that are out there. And you know how these videos are that make their way across the internet. Before I ever endorse any kind of video or like evidence, I'm doing the quote fingers, or proof of anything of voter fraud, I always like to view it myself, obviously, for passing it along. But again, I'll say they keep moving the goalposts. First, there was no voter fraud. And then there is evidence of voter fraud. Oh, well, no, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Okay, now we have a lady that went to jail in Texas for the voter fraud. We've got another lady up in Detroit that went to jail for voter fraud. And these are like officials. These are people that work for the election supervisor's office for those counties. So now they're moving the goalposts again, and the media new narrative is, well, it wouldn't have affected the election anyway. Okay, I'll say to that. Let's say you're 100% correct. Let's just say that, yes, that wouldn't have affected the election. As a citizen of the United States, don't you want to make sure that your elections are fair? Or do you only care if your guy wins? I'm asking a serious question. I don't know the answer. I have a feeling that a lot of people just want their guy to win, no matter what political aisle they side with. And that's scary. I would vote for free and fair elections. But as to date, we have still not seen in a lot of these contested states, they're either slow walking the evidence or keeping evidence behind lock and key or possibly shredded, possibly barns on fire. We don't know what's happening in Arizona. We'll have to get Vegan Patriot on the show, and she'll talk about what's happening in Arizona. But anyway, there's a lot happening in these contested states. And a lot of these cases that are being presented where they're like, hey, we've got evidence, they're being dismissed by the Supreme Court because of either standing or they just don't want to take the case. Supreme Court doesn't have to take a case. And so that's what's happening. So it's very frustrating because I get tired of hearing people on the other side of the aisle going, oh, well, there was no voter fraud. There's no evidence of voter fraud. And then I've got people on our side of the aisle that are the useful idiots that are going, well, I haven't seen anything. And I'm like, I have, and I don't make the salary that you make, conservative commentator. So anyway, more voter fraud updates. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me because I knew it was going to happen. I saw it coming. And there's people on our side of the aisle that are mad about President Trump, quote unquote, not doing anything about it. And again, I'm not being a Trump golden calf person here, but he was the president of the United States. There's nothing he can do about a state election. Presidential elections are state elections. They are 50 individual state elections. It is up to the states how they conduct their elections. And in all of these 5 or 6 places that Trump had to win or Biden had to win, that's where all the shenanigans or the big swath of the shenanigans were taking place. The federal government can't tell the state how they run their elections. So there's nothing the president could have done. So I think what he was trying to do was a tactical, hey, we know they're going to cheat, so let's, pump up those numbers as much as we can. And they did. He got a historic amount of votes, like more than any incumbent president ever. Again, historically, when that happens, the president wins. The only way an incumbent doesn't go back into the presidency is if he does not get the same number of votes. So not only did Trump get the same number of votes, he added about 15 million more to his roster. But Joe Biden is the most popular president in history, and you are a racist, bigot, conspiracy theorist if you question any of that. And I was going to touch on this story out of Florida about Governor Ron DeSantis and how he was handling the coronavirus, speaking of state elections and all that. But I think I'm going to save that. I'm just going to save that for when I do my coronavirus catch-up episode. The person that has done a very bad job at coronavirus, even though I'm not going to save this for my coronavirus episode, is Governor Cuomo in New York, who sent old people into nursing homes, and they died. I mean, that's just the hard truth of it. And he is not relinquishing his emergency powers. No tyrant ever gives up emergency powers once it's given to them. I mean, that you just open up a history book and see that. And I feel for the people of New York, because even Democrats are waking up now going like, okay, time to give the reins back over, and he's not going to. And I think that might be why these convenient sexual allegation things are happening now. Yes, treat them seriously, and I do believe these ladies, and I do think that he was, inappropriate with these women. And it's unfortunate because it's, like I said before when talking about the Me Too movement a couple episodes ago, like, if the news media actually did their job, and more importantly, did their job at the right time when it was time to do their job, we would have a different looking country. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I think what's happening now is Cuomo is not politically useful to these people anymore. So now they're letting the allegations out. Now they're going to report on him. He's not giving up his emergency powers. And I think they're just trying to crush him under the machine and move on. A lesson to all of you liberals that are trying to get into the power establishment. Once you have outlived your usefulness, unless your last name is Clinton, you'll be taken down. Metaphorically, of course. No other allegations I'm making. But anyway, the gaslighting on the voter fraud is ridiculous. I was going to play this cut, and I can't find it now, of the CNN journalist talking to, God, was it Huckabee? It was one of the more conservative-leaning governors or pundits, and he was like, I need you to say the words. I need you to say the words that there was no voter fraud, and the guy wouldn't do it. And it's just... They need it. They need that gaslighting. I need for you to say those words. The reason they need you to say those words is because then it will forever be a sound clip. It'll forever be a sound bite. And, I wanted to find that clip, and I cannot find it now. And then I ended up hearing it again on another podcast, and I could not pull it. So apologies for that. And speaking of conspiracy theories, I think I should bring up the Black Eye Club. And you were saying, what is the Black Eye Club, Ronald? Whenever you look at someone that is in a upper echelon of political power, it's amazing that at some point in their political career, like when they've made some kind of decision or some kind of stand or something that has kind of pushed them over the political line, they end up having a black eye. And it's so weird. It was just like whispers on the internet, but the newest inductee to the club is Mitt Romney. He has a black eye. And of course, I hear people going, well, Ronald, people get black eyes. Okay, I know this is anecdotal evidence. I've been punched before. I've been punched a few times. I've never had a black eye. And I'm wondering, now this is just speculation on my part. I've done no research, no data to back this up, so you can jump on me however you want on that. But how many people do you know have ever had a black eye? And how many people do you know 65 and over that have had a black eye. I'm not talking about clumsy old people that have fallen, broken their hip, because there's another conspiracy theory on that. You know, Joe Biden breaking his leg. Other political higher echelons have broken their legs. I'm not even entertaining that one. I'm entertaining the black eye. John McCain, when he did his famous thumbs down to keep Obamacare from being repealed, even though Trump gets blamed for that, it was John McCain, squarely John McCain, and 3 other shit senators, Murkowski, Collins, all the usual rhino suspects. He ended up having a black eye. Harry Reid, when he was leaving the Senate, he got a black eye. It always seems that when some kind of political decision is made, they get inducted into the club, and they get, I don't know, it may be one of the, maybe George Soros punches them or something. But anyway, it's strange. There's a lot of theories on that, but nobody's ever come up with anything. It'll be one of those things that'll probably never be able to be proven. And of course, I got to talk about former President Trump's Cpac speech. There was a conservative political action, Cpac, that takes place in my state, or it took place in my state this time. And I'm already seeing people turning on the former president, going oh, you didn't go hard enough. He didn't say this. He didn't say that. He didn't talk about election integrity and all this other stuff. And were you not watching the same speech? I'm not trying to be a golden calf here, but I did watch the speech. So, one, yes, he did. I heard the speech. He did talk about election integrity. Two, let me say this very slowly. States run elections, not the federal government. The presidential race is 50 state elections. I said this earlier in the podcast. The president cannot stop or, do anything to a state that wants to run their own election. Side note, wherever the states already had election integrity in place, Trump won those states. I know, crazy, right? I mentioned that before, too. But anyway, the guy worked for free for 4 years and took on more of the establishment and the swamp than you and I ever will. Got a lot of things right. Got a lot of things overturned. Got a lot of America First policy written and crappy policy rewritten or unwritten. But you don't like it because he didn't say A, B, and C. I got news for you. Nothing is ever going to be good enough for you. I had to unfollow a lot of telegrams the other day just because of stupidity like this. If you're going to be a black pill, then get out of the way. There's no sense in you even keeping up with the news. If you're going to shit on or hate on other people that are actually trying to make a difference, just get out of the way.
Oh, yeah!
Anyway, I thought it was a good speech. I love that he opened it up with, "Hello, Cpac. Did you miss me?" I mean, that's just classic Trump. Just as a closing note, because I try to keep, for my new listeners, I try and keep my podcast 20 minutes. I try not to go over just because of my own attention span and the shortened attention span of others. But I wonder, how many Democrats out there now, or people that voted Democrats, or even some right-wingers that voted for Biden just simply because he wasn't Trump. I wonder how much buyer's remorse they're having now. Gas prices are up again. The stock market is down. Prices of everything are going up. You're not getting a stimulus check. You're not getting a $15 an hour minimum wage. He hasn't taken one meeting with BLM, and I don't think he won't either. I'm not too big into the predictions game, but I don't think he will. Why would he? He got the vote. And then Black America, you'll be waiting in the wings again for another 2 years. And then when it's election time again, they'll do some kind of big emotional plea and keep you in these ideological chains that you think you've been in. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a race episode as well, so I'm going to save that for under the podcast. But I'm just wondering if how much buyer's remorse is happening. Because I'm seeing tweets and stuff like that, hey, I thought I was supposed to get a stimulus check. I thought this was going to happen. I thought that was going to happen. And I'm you guys don't even know what you voted for. And what kills me is the one dude that was trying to make your lives better as an American, and a handful of senators. One dude and a handful of senators who actually gave a crap Those are the ones you couldn't stand, and those are the ones that the media, academia, Hollywood, social media told you to hate. It's amazing. It's amazing how engineered that the society has become, how socially engineered in a backwards direction we've become. But anyway, now I'm sounding like a black pill, and I don't want to. I'm trying to keep it sort of light on this podcast. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to Publitarian Podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can. I'm publitarian@protonmail.com. I am on all of the social media, Gab, Parler, Minds, all of them. And thank you again for listening, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Listening to Publitarian Podcast. Copyright 2021.